Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ellie. Today's video I'm going to be talking about my top books that I read in 2025. I could literally be here for hours talking about all of my favourites, so I'm going to be talking about just my favourite book that I read for each month throughout 2025, and then I might potentially do another video of almost favourites for ones that I did really love but didn't quite make the top spot of each month. As always, I am sorry for the lighting. I definitely need to invest in some kind of ring light because it's just so dreary here in the UK during the winter. But anyway, let's get on with the books. My favourite read for January was Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I read this as a buddy read with my best friend, and as we were reading this, we were both kind of like halfway through and we weren't really understanding the hype. We wanted to finish it, we weren't ever going to DNF, but we were just a bit like underwhelmed with it. But then we got to the last half of it and oh my gosh, like it was very slow to start, but the ending, I could not put it down. I have not yet read Brimstone, the second book, because I have been wanting to reread this one before I pick up Brimstone. So I wanted to save this to read in 2026 because I didn't really want to read it twice in 1 year, even though I loved it. I feel pretty much everyone has read this book at this point, and I know there are a lot of kind of mixed reviews. I think you either absolutely love it or hated it. As this was obviously right back at the start of the year, I feel like I can't accurately describe what happens in this book from my memory, but it is a romantasy with enemies to lovers, and Kingfisher, the male main character in this, is definitely my favourite male main character of every book that I read in 2025. Like, I am just obsessed with him, and I know that the cover for this version has mixed reviews as well, but I personally am a huge fan of this cover. Moving on to February, my favourite book for the second month of the year was Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. This was my first book that I read by this author. I know she is super popular, but I wasn't too sure whether her books were going to be for me. But then I picked this one up and I absolutely loved it. One of the main things that I loved about this was the anxiety representation. As someone who is diagnosed with anxiety, I could really relate to how it was portrayed within the story, and it made me feel very seen, which is why I think I loved it so much. But in the story we have Matt and Lane, and Matt has basically always been in love with Lane, and one day she impulsively decides to buy a school bus which she has plans to renovate so that she can travel. She is feeling very lost in her life, she's feeling very behind as a lot of her friends are getting married and starting families, and she just feels that she is very behind, which again is something that I can relate to. So I just found myself really related to all of the characters and this story. I really just loved all of the characters in this, and it did spark me to pick up 3 other books I think I've read this year by Hannah Bonham Young, and I've loved all of them, so she's definitely a new auto buy author for me. My favourite book for March was Hexed by Emily McIntyre. Isn't this just such a gorgeous addition from the works? So this is part of the Never After series. This is the 6th book I think, and this is the final book in the series as well, and it is my favourite in that series. This is a Little Mermaid reimagining, and we have our female main character Vanessa and Enzo, who is our male main character. They are both from, I think it was mafia families, and they are rivals, but the catch with this one is Enzo is actually engaged to Vanessa's cousin. So it is a very forbidden romance. It is on the darker side. I wouldn't say it's the darkest book that I've ever read, but it definitely has dark tones to it. My favourite book for April was honestly a really big surprise, and that was A First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. This was a surprise because I read the Lovelight Farm series. I think I read 2 or 3 of them, and I didn't really like them, so I decided that B.K. Borison just wasn't going to be an author that I was going to ever pick up, despite how popular she was. But then this book came out and I kept seeing it in the works and I fell in love with it, and I know that was a really silly reason to just buy a book because it's pretty, and I really try not to do that very often, but I fell into the trap for this one and I thought I would give B.K. Borison one more go. and I'm so glad I did because I loved it. And yeah, it was my favourite book for April. This is a single parent romance. Our male main character Aidan works on a radio show, and Lucy's daughter calls in one day looking for some like dating advice for her mum, and the listeners really love it. So Lucy is invited to take part in Aidan's radio show where they try and find her dates, and she will go on these dates and report them back so she can find love. But outside of the show, she is a mechanic, which I really loved, as you don't really see female mechanics in books, so I thought that was really great. But I absolutely loved the family aspect of this story, not only between Lucy and Aidan, but also Lucy's daughter's father. Like, it was just full of family, and I think that was definitely just my favourite aspect of this whole book. I am definitely going to read the second one in this series. I think it's coming out at the very start of 2026. I think this was probably my biggest surprise of the year. For May, my favourite read was The Coven by Harper L. Woods. This was the second book that I've ever tried by Harper L. Woods, and like with B.K. Borison, the first book I read by her I DNF'd because I just didn't like it, and I wasn't going to try anything else by her, but I got this in the Verily Romantasy subscription, so I thought I would give it a go, and I loved it. It's quite short, but this is a darker romance where our female main character is a witch, but she has been hidden from her coven by her mother to protect her. But then she is left orphaned, and basically the coven find out that she exists and that she is the last witch of this line. She's the last one that has these powers, so she is taken to this school which is for the last of the lines of all of these witches, and this is a romance between her and the headmaster, so it's definitely forbidden. I really need to continue this series in 2026 because I just love this so much. I really do need to continue, and if you like a forbidden romance, then check this one out. Okay, moving on to June, halfway through the year, my favourite book was Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. This is another really popular romantasy. In this we have Ophelia, and she enters Phantasma after she believes her sister has entered it, so she goes in to find her. Basically it's this kind of travelling house that shows up, and you take part in these tasks, and then the winner is granted a wish. And here she meets Blackwell, helps her through these trials to get her to the final level so that she can try and find her sister. I love the cover. It's what initially drew me to this, and I was just absolutely obsessed. I devoured this, and I still think about this book daily. My favourite read for July was The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This is a really cute and cosy fantasy. We have Linus, who works for basically the government of this world, and he is tasked to go to this children's home, which is a house in the Cerulean Sea, and in this home are these dangerous children who are all magical kind of beings, and they are just shoved away onto this house on this island. Everyone that lives on this island is scared of these children, and they basically want to get this home shut down. So Linus goes in to write this report, basically expecting the worst and that these children are going to lose their home, but he ends up falling in love and finding family within this children's home with the people that run it, the children that are there, and he realizes that maybe they're not actually as bad as they seemed. Again, I really found this year that found family might be a new favourite trope of mine, and I'm just obsessed. I got the second book in this series for Christmas, and I can't wait to continue it. My favourite read in August was Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. This is a small town cowboy romance. In this we have Ada, who is like an interior designer, and she comes to the Rebel Blue Ranch in Wyoming to help do up the farmhouse for Weston. But in Ada's first night in the town, she shares a kiss with Weston, not knowing that he is going to be her new boss, and the story goes from there. I just really loved the relationship between these two characters. It was one of those books where I just wanted to jump into the pages and be at Rebel Blue Ranch. I loved how much of a supportive person Weston was towards Ada. He wanted her to pursue her dreams, even if it meant that he was letting go of her, and I just really appreciated that from a male main character. For September, my favourite read was The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle. This is a YA romantasy. This was a buddy read with my best friend, and this one I don't really know how to describe, but it is an enemies to lovers romantasy. But we have our two characters, Seraphine and Ransom, I believe their names were, and there's basically these rival groups, and Seraphine is on one side and Ransom is on the other. Seraphine, the female main character, is looking for revenge, so she goes after Ransom and they start to fall in love, but basically they cannot be together because of like the rivalry between them. And yeah, the second book I need to get to again immediately. I do want to reread this, even though I can remember what happened and I don't necessarily need to reread it to go into the second book. I loved it so much. It was just one of those that I think I'm going to reread again and again. I loved the writing, I loved the world, and I loved the characters. For October, I don't actually own my favourite read because I had a copy from the library, but it was Church Girl by Naima Simone. This was a short single dad romance and a nanny. So our female main character becomes a nanny for his daughter. Our male main character in this was just super protective. I really loved it. Again, it was just the whole found family thing with like a male main character, I can't remember the names, but the male main character finding the female main character, and then with their daughter, like them becoming a family. I just really loved, and I think that's a trope that I'm going to be searching for to read throughout 2026. The cover of this is what initially drew me to it, and I will definitely be reading more by this author in 2026. My favourite read for November was Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. Is that how you say her surname? But I loved this book. I went into it hoping that I was going to love it because of the hype. At first I wasn't too sure of it, but the ending, I am still in shock over it. I still can't quite understand how we got to the ending, so I'm really looking forward to rereading this to see if I can pick up any hints or clues as to how we got where we did, because I just did not see it. This was definitely the biggest plot twist of the year. But in this one, we have our female main character, Bryn. Sorry, I'm rubbish with names. And in this world, the like lands are sectioned away, and she lives in the middle of the ocean, and they go to land once every certain amount of years to collect supplies. But when she is on land, her friends want to try and kind of smuggle themselves to stay on the land, but then they get caught, and they go on this like whole adventure with her and this guy who is from the land. I'm probably not making any sense on that, probably doesn't sound anything like what this book is actually about, but it is so hard to describe, especially with the huge plot twist at the end. But I just absolutely loved this book, and if you haven't read it, you need to. And then the final book, and my favourite book for December, was Heavenly Bodies. Again, this is one that I've been really anticipating because of the hype, and I loved it, although I cannot tell you what happened in this, because this is one of those books, I feel like everyone has one, where they're reading it and they honestly don't really know what's going on, but they love the vibe. And I reread like several chapters as I was going through this, and yeah, a lot of it I was just kind of like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm loving it. So I'm definitely going to reread this in 2026, and I want to get myself a different copy because this is a fairy loot one. So I want to get myself like the paperback so that I can write in it and highlight and make notes as I'm reading, so that I can try and piece the story together, because I feel like it's one of those books that every time you reread it, you are going to pick up something that you initially missed. But this is an enemies to lovers. Again, the ending just left me shocked. Our female main character, Alara, has basically been fated to fall in love with a star, but it is going to ruin both of them. And this star is basically after her, and she is kidnapped. This is like so confusing, but she's kidnapped, and she's living in this other kingdom, which are like shielding her to become a weapon so that she can fight against this star that she is supposed to fall in love with. But she ends up falling in love with someone else. There's betrayal. and it's so good. I cannot wait to dive into the second book. But like I said, like I am desperate to read this. Like as soon as I finished it, I just wanted to go back to the start and reread it immediately, which rarely happens for me. So this is genuinely one of my favorite books this year. If you're interested to hear of the other books that I really enjoyed that were still 5 stars but didn't quite make the top of each month, then let me know and I will make another video of the almost favourites of 2025. But I'd be really interested to know if you read any of these. Were they in your favourites? Did you not enjoy them? Or what were your favourite books of 2025? Let me know if there's any that I should be adding to my TBR. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next week for another video.